So, you guys ready to get started? You guys excited? Like I said, popcorn starting.
Welcome to the train wreck, folks.
Yeah, pretty much. My name's Keegan. My name's Keegan from Level 2 Gamers. I'm one half. Sadly, my co-host couldn't be here this week. Tom, R.I.P. He's not actually dead. He just has work, which is the same as death sometimes, I feel like. And hosting her first panel ever is the lovely Claradactyl.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. Nervous.
You're nervous as hell.
Very
I can tell.
nervous.
Yes. Thank you to coming to How to Be Yourself on Camera. Before we get started, I want to actually tell a short story of how I met this lovely lady because it'll kind of contradict a lot of things that you see right now. So the first year, 3 years ago, I held a panel at Indy PopCon called The Struggles of a Small YouTuber and How to Overcome Them. It was a dope panel. It was a packed room. Ethan and Greg Beagley, or Crank Gameplays and all that were all there. It was an insane day. But
also dope.
We met her, and she was sitting, I won't forget, you're sitting like right over there.
I was in the front row, yeah.
Yeah, you're sitting right over there, and you're all shy and quiet and like super reserved.
Look
and
at me
then
now.
later on, you came out and asked us a couple more questions or something. I can't remember. But then Tom found your video on YouTube at the time and sent it to me, and he was like, that is the quiet chick that was in our panel. Do you believe this? I was like, oh my God. So it goes to show that like you can be boisterous and excitable on a camera, even though you might in real life be reserved. I know a lot of us probably have some sort of social anxiety or social issues. You got to keep in mind that YouTube and Twitch or any sort of thing you film yourself in, whether it's live or pre-recorded, is an outlet. And you will find people that will enjoy that outlet with you. It's just a matter of being yourself and finding them. So I kind of feel like that's the theme of what this is going to be, is just be yourself at the end of the day. But let's get started with how to be yourself on camera. The first thing I want to talk about is there's two types of people on camera. When you are either live streaming or you are on YouTube. And it is the people that interact with the camera or the people that ignore the camera. And I want to have Clara talk a little bit about interacting with the camera because she does it really well, in my opinion. She talks to the camera. So talk about kind of like your philosophy when it comes to streaming of why you directly interact with the camera itself.
Hi, I'm Clara, certified idiot. How you doing today, folks? But yeah, so I do Twitch, and it took me a long time to be able to like be myself and be comfortable in front of a camera. This right now is very out of my comfort zone. I was worried about this for like all weekend. I have been shaking a lot. Still am. It's great. But I learned that just if you be yourself on camera, it's a lot easier than talking to a person, because I just feel like it's talking in a mirror. And if you're able to talk in a mirror or like dance around on your own, you're able to do that on camera, and someone's going to enjoy it. You'll get the comments like, oh my gosh, is this girl on cocaine? I get that a lot, but it's fine.
You have a Nightbot thing that says, what drugs are you on?
Yeah, I know.
Like that.
My Nightbot even knows that I don't do drugs, but still asks. So the point is, I don't do drugs. That's not the point of the panel, but I don't. Just clarifying that. But just in real life, I'm a lot more reserved. I'm a lot more polite. If you first meet me, you can ask Keegan. I'm a lot more polite.
It was a night and day difference, like between what I saw in person the first day, and then obviously once you got like more comfortable around us, it was a different story. But like you can see, obviously being in here, we've known each other now 3 years and super comfortable with just the interactions going on. But yeah, I was shocked, is the best way to put it. Tom,
on camera, I talk very, very fast, and I'm trying to slow it down today so that way you guys aren't, frick, she's rap god, and I'm like, I'm not, I promise.
Do you want to rap god for a second?
Right now?
Right now, do it right now.
Lama, you assuming I'm human. What I gotta do to get it through? I'm superhuman, innovative, animator, represent anything to say, circus, I'm meaning, I'm devastated, what I'm sorting, never confront me, violence, feel like 17, never fitting into the hairs for thing, but they can say if all somebody because I know that they can motivate, and I gotta make elevator music. Oh, he's too mainstream, that's what they do when they get jealous, they confuse it. That's how fast I talk normally. It's a lot.
I can't do that.
Thank you.
I would stumble after like word 2.
Thank you. But on camera, you have to slow it down a bit because people can't always understand that. And just, it's like talking to a friend on camera, like Keegan. He comes by the streams all the time, and I'm just like, what up, Keegan? And I'll talk to him as if he was like in the room with me, as if he was a friend in the room with me. You can't be a fake person on camera, because if you're a fake person on camera, you're not going to go far, because it'll slip up, something bad will happen. I used to be a fake person on camera with my overexcited, everything's great, everything's bubbly and awesome, and now I'm just like, you know what?
Not everything's great.
No, today I had a bad day, and that's fine. You can talk about that. You can be yourself, and it's fine.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback on that too. Like when people usually start out, they tend to mimic somebody before they find their own voice.
Jacksepticeye.
Yeah, you're Jacksepticeye. When we started our YouTube channel, which is funny because now we do completely different stuff, but we were Game Grumps fans. We mimicked a lot of them because, like I said, it's me and one other dude, and we would just do the Game Grumps kind of philosophy of let's plays and go back and forth. And it's fun looking at those old videos. I was kind of looking up some last night and prep for this panel, and I was like, man, that was a long time ago, and I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing.
I was watching Smosh last night.
Yeah, I was watching Us because I'm a narcissist. But one of the things I want to point out, like for me, I actually run a Dungeons and Dragons campaign online. I'm not the DM. My DM puts a lot of hours into it that I don't have to. It's actually my first ever Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Anybody here ever heard of Critical Role? That's who I started watching, and I was like, I can do that, just not as good, maybe. I don't know. But we're trying. We're doing our best. And it's funny because, like, if you ever watch, like, the D&D community, a lot of the times they don't interact with chat because you're interacting with each other. So I actually have a Nightbot command when we were doing the D&D streams of, like, hey, chat interaction will be minimal because we were going to focus on role-playing with each other and doing those characters. And it's weird because it's a whole different community. Like, when I'm in your streams, you're interacting with us, people are interacting with you, and then they're interacting with each other.
It's really nice.
In my stream, when we do the D&D stuff, a lot of times they interact with us, they interact with each other, and they talk about the story, and I'm like, well, that's cool.
See, that's really cool whenever people like talk to each other in the chat. That's nice too. But I do IRL streamings and I'm starting to get into game streamings, I promise. But I just constantly talk to the chat and it's like talking to a friend that I know. Like I know friends from overseas come to the channel and all that kind of stuff. I would have never known them if I wouldn't have opened the door to Twitch and just taken a breath and done it.
Yeah, and a lot of it is being able to, you have such a strong reach. And like I said at the beginning of the panel, you'll find people that have a similar voice to you. Like I think we are similar in the sense that we are very excitable very quickly.
Loud.
We're very loud. I have Tom that calms me down. I don't know who calms you down. I don't think anybody ever.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So, but you find people that enjoy that. There's people like, I watch Jacksepticeye. I'm sure a lot of you know who he is. He's
Top of the morning to you,
he's
laddies.
very excitable. But like, there's people that don't like that. And there's people that want, like, Tom will never watch Jacksepticeye. He'll watch ASMR because he's like, that's more his speed. Or he watches chill music stuff. And I was like, what the hell are you watching? Yeah, I can't do that. It's too slow for me. So a lot of it is finding your voice. A lot of it is kind of seeing what works with you. And remember, you don't have to start on camera when you are doing some sort of content creation.
It took me 2 years to get on camera. I was just doing like Let's Plays.
I still don't do camera sometimes, depending on if I'm wearing shorts or not.
Oh, I've learned not to care.
Yeah, well, you should care.
I mean, you peed with a mic on, but...
Yeah, so one of the things we're going to talk about is when you are on camera or when you are streaming, to not be afraid to embarrass yourself. We have all done it many times, and there's two stories specifically I'm going to tell. One, I was debating. One, I knew I was. So there was a stream. I was playing some video game. I can't remember what it was. Probably GTA or something at this point. And I was streaming it. And I go to take a bathroom break. And I put in chat, I have a command that says, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be back. I go to the bathroom, come back, and the chat is just laughing their ass off. I'm like, what is going on? Like, what happened? What did I miss? So I scroll through chat, and they're like, he didn't mute his mic. He didn't mute his mic. So I live in a one-bedroom apartment. And you can hear from where my desk is all the way over to... my bathroom, and I did not close the door because I'm by myself, and they could hear it. And I was like, I remember coming back and be like, oh, did that just happen? But you got to roll with it. You got to
roll with the
go with the punches.
Improv is really number one if you're doing like a live stream or something. If something happens and you weren't expecting it, make a joke out of it. Like, roll with it. There have been I literally broke my desk one time on stream, and I was like,
you broke a lot of things.
I have broke a lot of things. I broke my fan, I broke my desk, and I rolled with it. I hit the fan again, I moved the desk out of the way. You roll with it. You cry on the inside, and you roll with it.
And I think if you ignore it too, like, people will notice more if you ignore it than if you make a point of it, as much as that sucks. Like, there's times where, like, you're not feeling the greatest when you're streaming or when you're doing content creation. And there was actually an interview I did with a developer a couple years ago about Ace Combat 7 VR. It was a big deal at the time because nothing had been known about it. And I was excited because it was the first we were one of the first interviews that somebody had for that game since E3. And we're like, ooh, let's do this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. And it was me and my co-host, and I talked over him a lot in that just because I was excited to interject my thoughts. The internet then tore me down because, like, the guy with the glasses needs to shut the hell up, and I want to hear British man talk all the time. And I was like,
I feel that.
Ouch. But at the same end of the day, like, that doesn't matter. Like, you got to let that stuff roll off your back. You got to have thick skin if you're online because you are putting yourself out there. You will have moments that you will question where you break stuff or I
don't question a thing. I know I broke it.
Yeah, or you pee on stream. Or I had one where I thought the camera was off and I stood up and I was not currently wearing pants at the moment.
Haven't done that.
That is an interesting thing. So I now always wear basketball shorts when I stream if I have camera on.
Wear pants on stream. That's the message of this panel.
Yes.
Wear pants.
Otherwise you'll have embarrassing moments. But again, you roll, like, they're now jokes of like, do you remember that time you didn't wear pants? I'm like, yes, I remember. It traumatized me. I'm very well aware that I did not wear pants and that you heard me pee on stream. Yeah. It's a thing that happens, and you can't let it get to you because, like I said, if you let it get to you, you're gonna second guess of going on stream again, and it's just gonna become this perpetual thing of like, meh, of not wanting to do it. And something that like you pointed out in your Discord server recently that you're like, she's been on vacation for like, this is your second week of vacation. She came from Florida to here. Went to
I didn't have a
Disney.
break. It was like, Florida, here, go.
But you were talking about how you miss streaming.
I did. I missed streaming so bad I had to stream at the parks because I was having withdrawals.
Talk a little bit about, because you obviously did the IRL through your phone stream, and that was different than what you normally do. Talk about that process of like how you were able to overcome kind of just the fear of not having it work properly because you've never done it.
I have anxiety, first of all, so it's a lot to stream. Like, I have to sit down, I prepare everything, I'll do vocal warm-ups, I'll listen to pump-up jams, like heavy metal, and then I'll be like, hi guys, welcome, it's fun. But yeah, so I just had to like whip out my phone, and it took me till the last day of vacation to be like, I want to stream so bad at the park. I just want to stream, I want to try it. And so I whipped out my phone, and I clicked the play button, and I was like, whatever happens, happens. If people stare at me, people stare at me, but I know what I'm doing. I'm confident in what I'm doing.
Do you know what you're doing?
I don't know what I'm doing, but I tell myself I do,
Yes,
so that helps.
it's confidence.
Yeah, sure, with anxiety, but
Yes.
you know, it's fine. So I just like kind of walked out there, didn't look people in the eye, which is what I'm doing right now. If you can tell, I'm looking above all you guys, but I still see some really cool cosplays right there. But it's dope. Yeah, hell yeah. But it's just like I've learned to look above the camera. I've learned to look at the camera. I've learned to just focus on the people in the chat who want to be there, who want to see the stream, not the people who are like, what is she doing at Disney World? Why isn't she on freaking Epcot ball? What is she doing? Why are her parents watching her? Are they okay with this?
Well, yeah, why are your parents okay with this? What is happening?
I've had multiple people be like, your parents must really love you. And I'm like, they do. They're okay with it, you know? They love what I do. They're here right now. And they support me.
Woo!
Thanks.
But no, I think it's interesting because, like, obviously we're recording this to go up later on our channel. But, like, the public recording is way different than like in your bedroom, because in your bedroom, which is where most of us record, and or if you're lucky enough to have your studio, it's safe. It's your space. You know what's going on. Like, people will invade here or there.
There's a couch in there.
But you know who's in your house theoretically all the time.
I don't.
Well, that sounds creepy.
Luke shows up sometimes, and I don't know when
does.
he's there.
Yeah.
I don't know when he shows up. Sometimes he'll just barge open and give me like a kind of thing and then leave.
And then run away. And we can't see that on chat because it's on screen.
Yeah.
Or off screen.
Yeah, I know. It's great.
But that's something you got to keep in mind is, like, if you are like, because there's different types of content you can make. Like, you do a lot of IRL stuff.
I do.
I started with a lot of gaming stuff, and Tom and James over here actually does a podcast every other week on it of different heroes and just about Overwatch, which is what the panel is tomorrow on. And then I do a Dungeons and Dragons campaign every other week, along with then a podcast called Behind the Roll, which talks about our experiences during the podcast. So all my stuff is self-contained inside of my apartment. Everybody I'm talking to is done through the internet. I have friends that are in St. Louis. I have friends that are in Texas. I have friends that are all over the country that we get together and like, let's do this, which is the glorious part of the internet. I wouldn't have met her if it wasn't for the internet. Wouldn't have met him, or where's Matthew? Him, if it wasn't for the internet.
I wouldn't have met all you guys if it weren't for the internet. Look at me now.
So it's one of those things you got to keep in mind with doing that is how you want to do it. So if you're doing the public aspect of things, it will take a little bit more time to get used to having to be out in public and having people stare at you. When I do con stuff, I still notice the stares, as weird as it is. Like, whenever we stop to interview somebody, like whether it's an artist or if it's somebody else, we will know. You feel the bodies around you of like, people are staring at me right now. Do they want to get through, or are they curious what's happening? And it's like, it all comes back to the anxiety of just trying to let that go, because at the end of the day, that's nobody, excuse my language, gives a shit what you're doing. As sad as that is, but it's true. Most people are in it for themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't care what you're doing. They might be intrigued by what you're doing and say, "Oh, this is cool. Let me check out who they're talking to or whatever." But at the end of the day, they were there for 5 seconds. Your life is 24 hours a day. They didn't really think about you that much, sadly.
Yeah.
But it's true. So when you are from a content creator, that's kind of how I justify being out in public and recording, is like not caring. And like the vlogs, like vlogging at a restaurant is always weird because it's the places where people don't expect it. Like Disney, I think might have been a little bit easier.
It was a lot easier because a lot of other people were vlogging and streaming,
But
and I'm like, okay,
Disney,
that's fine.
When you get outside Disney to the real world, where none of us want to be.
I don't go out there. I'm pale.
Yeah, that's where it gets sketchy, because that's when people start looking at you when you're out in the real world doing those kind of things. So
yeah.
The other thing I want to touch on is, like I said, the social anxiety, the aspect of just kind of be yourself. And it's so true when you're this going back to the beginning, like just be you and don't be afraid what people think of you. I'm loud, obnoxious. That's the way it is. She is similar.
Same.
My co-host is British, and he will say words that I will never say on a recording because that's just how he was raised. Do I get mad at him for it? No, because that's who he is. But be yourself. There's going to be people that find you for different reasons and like you for different reasons, whether it's your personality, whether it's the content you make, whether it's just because they think you're cute. That happens sometimes, but
It never happens.
No, never. So
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. But I think it comes down to the fact that, like, when you are doing content, remember that people are out there for different reasons. Don't be afraid to try new things as well. Like, the reason this panel is happening is because I actually sent you a message and I said, hey, I'm going to submit a panel. Do you want to do it? And I think you were like, yes. And then afterwards you're like, uh-oh.
I know. When you were like, we got the panel, I'm like, great.
So.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to go outside your comfort zone when you're doing this kind of stuff. And again.
Conquer your fears. Do it.
Being like right now we're pretending the camera's not here. Like I can stare at the camera. It's there. So be it.
Just having a lovely conversation.
But you have a conversation with everybody else. When you're in your room and you're talking to a camera, one of the things we didn't point out earlier, but when you're talking directly to the camera itself, you're talking to a person. Remember that is a person on the other side of the screen watching you. And it is more direct when you stare at the lens than when you stare at the screen in front of you. So if you look at most YouTubers that are successful, a lot of them don't look down. They're looking straight ahead at the camera.
That's really hard. I still suck at that.
Yeah. There's times because you're either reading the chat or you're doing something else. You're like, or you look at yourself. People look at themselves all the time trying to think like, oh man, is my hair?
Listening to Ocean Man.
Yeah.
It's a lot going on.
Is my hair screwed up? Is my
hair? I've done that before. I'm like, welcome back.
So keep in mind that when you are doing that kind of stuff, like, don't be afraid to try new things. Figure out what works best for you. And honestly, the best way to get good and comfortable behind a camera is to practice. I've been doing on-camera work professionally, and by professionally I mean being paid to do it, for 15 years at this point. I used to work in the music industry. I gotta do that that was a wild ride back in the day. It was a lot of fun. And the first time I saw myself on camera, it was terrifying. Like, I was awkward. I was gangly. I didn't know how to act.
I mean, I used to wear my pajamas while recording, and I was like, I can't do that anymore.
I mean, you could.
What? I know. I wear pajama pants all the time.
Yeah.
Because no one can see from the waist down. Wear pajama pants from the waist down.
Yeah, just wear pants.
Wear pants, Keegan.
Just pajama pants. But it's something that you'll get used to over time. And a lot of people, when they see themselves on camera the first time, they point out their flaws. The same thing when you see yourself in the mirror. Like the phrase that the camera adds 20 pounds, that is so true because you're critiquing yourself to the extreme. But you'll get more and more comfortable as time goes on of like, this is who I am. And even as time goes on, like, who I was 3 years ago when we started our channel in 2015 to who Keegan is in I guess that's 4 years ago now. Jeez.
Know, right?
Oh, God.
That's a lot.
To who I am today in 2019 is a vastly different person because of some life events that have happened, because of people I've met. So don't be afraid to change. If you look at all these larger YouTubers, a lot of times they start out as something and then morph into something else. I mean, I'm going to use the example of Markiplier. I mean, he games, but he definitely does a lot more.
Have blue
IRL
hair
stuff
anymore.
Yeah, Jack doesn't have green hair.
What?
Or red hair.
What's happening?
Red hair.
He had green. You were right the first time.
No, Mark had red.
Mark had red. You're right.
Yes,
I'm
Mark
so
had
proud
red.
of you.
Yes.
So proud.
So, but don't be afraid to change as you go along when it comes to like what you're learning and kind of figure out where you are as a person when it comes to what you want to present. The other thing to keep in mind too is if you record something, this is the advantage of doing not live stuff.
Oh, recording is so nice.
If you record something and you don't like it, you can delete it. Like there are videos that have existed in our library that will never make the light of day for whatever reason, whether it's there was actually one where you could see Tom's butt crack when he bent over, and I was like, "Sorry, Tom, we're not putting that in." I'm sorry.
TOS, no.
Yeah. Or there's other things like I just had an off day or the information wasn't good or whatever. Like I have a bunch of D&D videos that I've made that literally are on YouTube, but they're privated because I don't know if that's the format I want to go with. But I wanted to record 4 or 5 of them at once to get the voice down that I want of like, okay, yes or no, this is what I'm going to do. And then from there you critique it. You have other people watch it and say, what did you like? What didn't you like? And again, the on-camera stuff for me, it's really weird seeing yourself when you are just presenting information. When I do the D&D stuff, I'm playing my character. I'm a dwarf fighter, so Torbjorn is a lot of fun. He's a drunk as well. So half the time he doesn't know what he does. But when you're on the like doing the stuff where you're presenting information, you got to be more formal. You got to be more direct, like a news-based thing. And it's just, for me, that's harder to do because I like to, as we said earlier, this outline is literally like 20 words long.
Yeah.
So
he was like, "You will mess up. Yeah. It's fine." And I'm like, "Wonderful, Keegan.
Yes.
Thanks for that."
You do it on a whim. But that's something like when I'm doing D&D, I'm doing everything improv and all that. But when you're doing presenting information, it's more of scripted, more thought out, and not every content works best for every person, and not everybody likes to present themselves the same way on camera. Like there's people that will only record themselves with vlogs, and that's what they're comfortable with. Like I have a friend that just started I'm baking vlog, and I can't stand those.
I would
but
love that.
She is so good at baking that I'm like, it makes sense for you. Like, do it.
Bake. I mess up mac and cheese.
Yeah,
it's a lot. I make mac and cheese soup.
I make chicken nuggets. Is mine. Just throw those in the oven for like 20 minutes. You're fine.
We should have brought food to this panel and just passed it out.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
So, yeah. But that being said, like, again, being yourself on camera is a matter of time. It's a matter of just comfort. It's a matter of just knowing who you are. And there's going to be moments where you're going to self-doubt what you're doing. And there's times where it's not against like rethinking. Is this what I want to do? Is this how I want to do it? Is this how I want to present myself? Is like, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with my mom, because full disclaimer, I have bipolar disorder, and I came out on my channel probably 2 years ago publicly with that. And that was a big deal for me because it's one of those things of like, my mom was like, you probably shouldn't disclose that publicly. And I was like, well, I want to help people that have it. And a cool story actually last year during one of our panels, one of the ladies in the audience had bipolar disorder and came up to me afterwards and we talked. And I was like, if I hadn't made that public at the time, we would not have had that conversation. We've had other things happen since then with connecting and making sure she gets up and running. But it's just like little things like that of not being afraid to let those vulnerabilities out. I use the example of a musician writing a song. How many songs would be generic if it's just like, I love you, you're awesome, I love you, versus somebody like pulling on a personal experience of like, man, Susie really broke my heart in D.C. and then going with Susie.
If anybody here is named Susie, I apologize.
Yeah, it was Sarah actually that broke my heart in D.C.
Okay, you didn't need to add that, Keegan.
Sorry, Sarah. You know.
Sorry, Sarah. If you're watching this, hi.
So does anybody have any questions for us when it comes to presenting yourself on camera? Like I said, a lot of it comes down to personal, like...
I mean, I kind of had like one thing I wanted to say.
Go.
I remember being like a little kid and I was just like sitting in my room. This is how I knew I wanted to do YouTube. I would be watching the Game Grumps and I would just like pause. I know. I would pause the episode and like pretend I was in the room and pretend I was with them and like streaming with them or recording with them. I would do that with a lot of YouTubers, or I would like download a game and talk over it like, oh man, Minecraft days.
But you're practicing. That's what that is.
Yeah. And I was like, man, I want to do it. Like, but I can't. I just felt like I couldn't. And I remember buying my first microphone and it was sitting in my room for a year, and I kept looking at it like, tomorrow, it's gonna be tomorrow, it's gonna be tomorrow. It was never tomorrow until the next day. And so I went up there, and I grabbed my microphone, I plugged it in, I had this crappy editing software, this crappy recording software, it never worked, and I just kind of sat down in my living room remember my dad walked in, he's like, Claire, shut up. And I'm like, I'm recording, Dad.
What are you doing?
Shut up, Dad. I didn't know how to edit that out. So I just like posted that on YouTube and it's there forever now. And I love watching it because I'm like,
it's a memory. But you learn from that. Like everybody starts somewhere, and it's funny because like we all look at these big YouTubers that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of subscribers, and they all started from the same place. Most of them started with a microphone in their living room and or basement and or bedroom. And they grow from there. And a lot of it is luck. A lot of it is opportunity. And one of my favorite quotes is, luck is the combination of hard work and opportunity.
Heck yeah,
where they cross the road, where the roads cross there. And if you don't work hard, but you get the opportunity, does not matter. If you work hard and don't get the opportunity, it kind of sucks. But at the same time, like, you got to be happy with what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
If you try to be somebody, not like she said earlier, if you're trying to present yourself as this stereotype that you think would be entertaining, but it's not you, nobody will watch. And people will call you out quickly.
After recording one YouTube video, my throat would be dead. I wouldn't be able to speak for like a couple days, and I would just be like, but the video was good.
You sound like a chipmunk, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, it's
you definitely were a chipmunk.
Because I would cut out every second of dead air, and I would be like, no one wants to hear dead air. Look at that. You guys all just heard a second of dead air. Isn't that crazy? Wow. And I've learned from that. I've learned from that mistake. Like, oh, wait, it's okay to breathe. Wow. And there's sometimes on stream, people be like, do you breathe? And I'll go up to the mic and be like, never in my life have I once breathed. I'm dead.
I'm dead inside.
always been dead.
So does anybody have any questions when it comes to, like I said, presenting yourself on camera, or any questions on the aspects of doing live content or recorded content or whatever? Like I said, we've been doing this now. I've been doing it, like I said, over 15 years. You've been doing it a few years now.
I think 4 now?
Yeah. You have surpassed us, though, on Twitch.
Whoa!
It's just crazy. Yeah.
I haven't even been on Twitch for a year.
No. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's nuts.
Blows my mind.
Ah.
So, anybody got any questions? What's up?
What's your question?
I think my biggest problem when I'm streaming, I stream on Twitch, is
Nice.
engaging with the camera. I think that's my biggest problem. Because I'll look at the chat, I'll see people talking, and I'll be looking at it, expecting a response to what I'm talking about,
I feel that.
and not looking at the camera and actually looking
At the person.
So do you have any tricks or tips or whatever?
It's like, look at the camera more? Yeah. So say like the chat's kind of dull for a minute. I normally just go and think of a story. Like I'll be like, oh, this happened today. And I'll look at the camera and talk for a bit. And out of the corner of my eye, I'll like see the chat go up and be like, okay, great. People are here. People are listening. Wonderful. And that still blows my mind that people show up to my streams because I just yell at a camera. To be honest, it's what I'm doing right now. And
The other thing that I have an issue with is when nobody is really in my.
when,
I play games, and when nobody is really there.
do you mind me asking what games you play?
I play retro games,
Nice.
90s DOS games.
Oh, that you like real retro games, not like mid 2000s retro games.
Well, it's easier for me because I have ADHD, so I could talk to a brick and be able to have a full-on conversation with it. But yeah, if you're able to just like have a conversation kind of with yourself almost and look at the camera and be like, I'm the person here. I'm the person watching this. What do I want to hear? What do I want to talk about? What do I want to listen to? So I'm like, oh, I ate a bagel today. It was a cream cheese bagel. And I'll just like talk about the cream cheese bagel and be like, oh, thank gosh, people are finally here. Or if like, say you're playing a game, because I don't play games that often, but if you're playing a game, get involved in the game. Talk about the game. Talk about your strategies, what you're doing, and be like, frickin' hate this character. He sucks. And then kill him and be like, yes, I did that.
Something I've done with like chat and not staring at chat is most people have their webcam right above their computer.
I do.
So what I ended up doing is I actually moved the chat for the longest time right underneath my webcam. So even if I'm reading the chat, I'm looking at the webcam.
That's
so
smart.
it's a little trick. You can still tell a little bit, but it's not as noticeable. Because most people have on Twitch is on the right side or wherever you put it, but most people have it on the right side for Twitch. So like if you're looking up at the webcam and you see the chat there, it's a little bit of a pro tip of like, hey, I'm not actually looking, but I am. And when it comes to like playing games, a lot of it depends on how intensive the game is. Like for me, a prime example is we used to stream Division, like the first Division from Tom Clancy. Ooh. That game is super intensive when it comes to the end game stuff. You have to play really, really well.
I can't
otherwise
do that.
you will die.
I can't play like focus-based games because I want to talk to the chat still. So I'll play like RPGs.
And that's kind of what I'm getting to is like for us when we played Division, we called it tryhard mode, and we stole that from James. But we had to have tryhard mode engaged, which means we are focusing on the game for the next however long this takes to get through, because it's not going to be exciting if we keep dying in the same spot over and over and over again. But then when that moment's over, you go back and check chat, or you go back and see what's going on with it to make sure that you're caught back up with what is happening. That way they don't feel left out. Because a lot of times the rule of thumb is 15 seconds. If somebody's not welcomed within 15 seconds, they will probably leave.
Yeah.
And when it comes to people not chatting, that is just one of those things where time.
I'm shy. Sometimes I don't talk in chat. Like I'll go to your guys' stream, but
Just
you
lurk.
won't know because I'll just be like lurking in the background. Sometimes people are shy and just want to watch a video. Like on YouTube, I don't comment on every video I watch.
Yeah.
That would be exhausting. I watch a lot of videos. But it's like, if you watch it, that's awesome. If you're there, that's awesome. But also don't worry about the numbers.
Yes.
If you are streaming, because that's something I had to get over.
I
Really quick.
I block over the numbers. You can't see them on my screen.
That's smart. Oh, that's
So.
smart. Sometimes people are like, well, there's 60 people in here right now. And I'm like, you didn't say that. I didn't hear it. Let's go back to the chat.
Yeah. And the other thing too with like not having anybody in chat, like I would personally, and people have different opinions, as my personal opinion is never call out a lurker, because that'll make them very uncomfortable. Like,
They feel like,
why is nobody talking here? And they'll probably leave versus hang out. But what I would say is engage potentially in something that has a question or a conversation and see if they will answer that question. So a prime example I would do is like when we play Overwatch, one of the things we like to do is have the people pick my character, which always ends up with me playing May. 99% of the time, it's me playing May and
Nobody likes May.
Widowmaker or Symmetra.
Love Widowmaker,
Pick the
though.
trolls. So we get the chat engaged in that way, or have a poll. So even if people aren't talking, if you put a poll up, people will respond to a poll because they're not publicly there, but their response shows up. So things like that to get them engaged. And after time, once people get more and more comfortable, they will more than likely chat. There's some people that never will. There's people in our streams that will never talk.
I have a person who comes to mind who just says hey, and then they lurk
and
the
they're
whole
gone.
time.
Yeah, and they're gone. And that's just the way it is.
I'm
That's how
like,
people consume content nowadays.
great.
But based on like what you're doing, so do you do anything like polls before you go live of like what game you're going to play, or do you say this is the game I'm going to play?
I usually pick a game and go with it. I mean, I've only been streaming for like a month.
That's good, though. The first month is the hardest, so you're past the hurdle,
Yes.
which is great.
I kind of have a list right now. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen now. I have a list of games that I'm going to play.
See, my computer just sucks, and it won't run games as I'm streaming, so I'm like, guess I'll talk for 2 hours.
That's the beauty of 90s retro games.
Is they can run on anything.
They can run. Oh, it's so great. Tried to
And
play Borderlands.
Skyrim. You can play Skyrim. Skyrim runs on everything.
I can't play GTA.
But
Having
going
withdrawals.
later on, like down the road, what I would do is like if you have a Twitter account or something like that, put the poll on there of like these are 4 games from my list. What would you guys like to see? And just kind of see, because a lot of times people think their audience is going to come from their platform they're on, whether that's Twitch or YouTube or whatever. 90% of your audience comes from other locations, whether that's meeting people in real life. I would say while you're at the con, do you have business cards made? Get business cards made. That's a big one I recommend to most people. Have a business card when you go to convention. Even if you're not presenting or anything, have those made, ready to hand out to go. Because that way more people will recognize your name.
I got mine made a week ago.
There you go. I've had mine. You have our version 1.0.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is like talk to game devs and see if they have anybody that they know of or any communities. Get Discord
like
communities.
itch.io, that is a great place to like put your name out there, because if you're making a video or like recording a game that someone's made on itch.io, not only will it make that developer feel super good that you're playing their game that they worked really hard on and you found on a platform, but you can also make a friend out of it. I have a lot of developer friends who I've like been like, oh, your game is amazing. And they're like, oh, thanks. And we'll just talk about their games and their mechanics that they used. And it's so much fun. Hi, I'm a nerd. But yeah.
Well,
great.
it's funny because we've like I said, we've been doing this now, I guess, 4 years, and we've developed this relationship with a lot of developers over the years. And like, my question to you is basically would be, would you strictly stick with 90s, or would you have somebody who has a 90s feel and play that in modern game?
Like Cuphead.
I mean, I think I would. I have thought about that, and I think I would go for a retro feel.
But a modern style, because that's where the traffic's going to be. The problem you run into with retro is there's people know about them, and unless it's a very niche audience, which is good if you break through, but getting your name out there is hard. But if you go for the indie games that look retro or have that feel that you want, so like one of my favorite games that I've played is called Poi, which if you haven't heard of, it's on Steam, PS4, and I think it's on Xbox now. I don't know if they released it on Xbox yet or not. They were going to, but I don't know if it's actually been allowed. And it's basically Mario 64 on that platform. And it's funny because like if I played Mario 64, I'd probably get less people than when I got Poi. Because the reason is I had my relationship with the developer. The developer tweeted out about my stream. They hit up their fan base about the stream and said, hey, come check out this person doing this thing with our game. Versus if you're playing an older game, those devs more than likely don't exist anymore, and they're not on social media.
They're not dead. They just aren't
They're
active.
the companies just aren't around anymore. So, but there is an audience for retro games if you do want to stick with that. My personal opinion is I think it's harder to get into because we launched our channel with the show called Let's Go Retro, which was us playing. Basically, it had to be any game that I think was 1998 or older was the classification we had. So we started with that, and we realized quickly for us that audience is so hard to get, but getting a modern game with that feel from a trend standpoint, from a Google search standpoint, is really good. The other thing that I would recommend for any content creator in here, if you're trying to like discoverability, if you ever heard of a app called TubeBuddy, TubeBuddy,
yes. And I was like, what the heck?
TubeBuddy, it will tell you trends, it'll tell you search results, things like that. So like a good example for us is we did PSVR content for the longest time, and if you did PSVR, like the letters PSVR is one word, it would only get like a 24 out of 100 score. If you did PS space VR, it would get a 78 out of 100. As stupid as that changed was,
I'm the person
you
who
could
puts
see the
the
numbers
space
that happen.
in.
You can see the numbers that happen. And it's funny because it takes the amount of people that are searching that versus the amount of people that have it and does some crazy algorithm stuff of like, this is how we score it. And it also will give you stuff related to other content that people have done with that tag inside of it. So even if it's not your content, it's somebody else's content that is going to have that on there. So thank you.
Is that minutes?
Yes, that is minutes.
What? We haven't been talking that long.
It's minutes. So
What? You got here late. You can't say nothing. Okay, thank you. Wow,
But yeah-
why have you guys been listening to us for that long? Lord.
But yeah, I would look at different ways, and something I adamantly go against to a certain extent is trends. Don't follow the Fortnite trend. Don't follow the Minecraft trend. I hate
Don't play
that
Fortnite.
kind of stuff. But if you have something you love, that there's a reason. So here's a good example of trends. I was playing. Does anybody remember the original Finding Nemo game on Xbox? No, I played GameCube as well. GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2. Maybe PlayStation
You can
1.
just say Fortnite.
Yeah. But we were playing that game. We were picking a new game to play for our channel, and Finding Dory was about to come out. So guess what people are searching? Finding Nemo. Guess what we put in our search tabs? Finding Nemo. So we made sure that was in there. In those videos, it's funny because I look back, and that's actually one of our most viewed videos.
Oh my
And I was like,
gosh.
somebody watched me play Finding Nemo as like a Let's Play versus like a new game that just dropped that.
I'm the kind of person who
people
will watch
playing it.
stupid games. If you're going to play like Barbie's Magical Princess Castle, I'm going to be there.
Barbie's Riding Club was my game as a child.
I will be there. I've watched like all the stupid games. If you're going to play like, I can't even think of a dumb game.
But
E.T. If you're going to play that, I'll be there. I'll watch it.
And you got to find times when it happens, like.
There are
prime-
ideal times too, like on Twitch.
Like right
I
now-
stream in the afternoon.
I mean, Star Wars is always big. Let's not kid ourselves. But right now, with Galaxy's Edge opening, Star Wars, the number of Star Wars searches has jumped by like 300% because of Galaxy's Edge. Star Wars, when we're talking 300%, we're talking like from 100 million to 300 million. But it's still a lot of searches that you got to wade through. But that's something to keep in mind is even if it's something not directly correlated to it, or like if a sale happens on that game, people are more likely to search that. So keep in mind on things like that.
Because we're cheap.
We actually had a game, if you guys have PS4, Laser League, we got an early copy of that game, and it came to the PS Plus game. Our video only had like 150 views when we first launched the video. And it's just a gameplay video, like 30 minutes of just gameplay. Then when it came to the PS Plus game, it got over 10,000 views in a week. And we didn't change anything. It just went from right time. We just happened to be the one that showed up first in search that people were looking for. And this was like 6 months after the fact where it's like, so also if something doesn't happen right away, don't kind of.
Also,
Wait,
YouTube
what?
is a funny little platform where no matter like how good you think the video is, you could have worked hours and days on it and like put all your hard work into it, and that one gets like, let's say 100, 200 views, and then one that you were just like, I need to upload, there we go, gets like 1,000, and you're like, but why?
We have a video of a girl playing Resident Evil 7 in VR, and she screams and rips the headset off because she's terrified. And that was one of our first videos that actually gained traction. I was like, that took me 15 seconds to record on my phone versus the time and effort we put into editing sound. And for the podcast, like we have outlines, we have scripts, we have videos we put in, all these kind of things that go into it. And same with the D&D stuff, even on live. When I do D&D live, like I use OBS for everything.
Ooh, OBS is good.
And you have your different scenes. So like, okay, we have our blank screen for when we're about to go live, where we're all getting ready. And then we have our countdown screen to when we are going to go live. And then we have our live screen. And then we have break screens. And then we have screens with character sheets and things. So the people that are watching get different experiences. I spent, before we even started our campaign, I spent probably 6 to 8 hours just getting that stuff nailed
I just
down.
click go live.
Because, yeah, you can't, like, you could. But at the same time, I also think you having the advantage of making sure everything looks clean, making sure everything, testing stuff. We did a bunch of test streams when it comes to making sure audio levels are good, because we have people, like I said, our D&D campaign is all done through the web. We do it through Discord for voice. We do video through roll20.net, which is the application we use. And everything's done through that. And something can go wrong very quickly when you start using multiple things.
Yeah.
And you have to be prepared for it and have a backup plan if something does go wrong. So, like, I can't tell
Wing
you
it.
how many times I've started an episode and audio's not working. And I was like, fuck. So, what's up?
On the topic of seeing yourself on cam, how important is it to choose games you enjoy?
Oh, very.
Extremely important.
Very.
I've played games that I've absolutely hated before, and I'm like, I want to stop recording, but I'm already 40 minutes in and it's footage, but I know I'm never going to go back to that game. So I have to like be like, all right, scrap it. We're going to this game because it's more fun. And like, I'm going to play those games on stream because I had such a good time playing them on the channel and I miss them. And like, I have a personal connection to video games. Like if I really love a video game, I will not finish it and I will just hold on to it like a dear friend forever.
I've never finished a video game.
Because I'm alone.
But no, that is a good point because, like, again, it's kind of following the trends. There was a game that came out called Last Day of June that was announced at E3 either last year or the year before. I can't remember. But as soon as I saw it, it's this heart. I'm a sucker for heartfelt stories. Like I'm such a like, oh, that was cute. Thank you. And it was one of those games that when I saw it, I immediately emailed the developers. And that's another thing. If you do gaming, don't be afraid to go on their website and email them and say, hey, I'm a content creator. How can we work together? And most times you're not going to get keys. You'll get like press assets. So you get trailers. You get
and try
art.
New things. Go out of your comfort zone. I've had to do that a lot with these past 3 years of being on the internet. I've had to change a lot about my setup. I've had to change a lot about my confidence. I've had to learn to talk to people off camera, which is frightening because whenever I'm off camera, I just like go and do my own thing and I'll be like booking around doing other things and I'll totally forget about the internet and I'm like, oh wait, I need to still go on like Discord or Twitter and upload on Twitter or Discord. Also promoting things, that's smart. I have so many Discords on my phone where I'm just like, I'm live and I don't know if that like does anything, but sometimes like I go into Discords all the time and I'm like, I'm bored, what's a new streamer I can watch? And I'll be like, oh, this person, wow. And then I'll go and they'll be like my new favorite streamer.
And usually when you find something, it's because it's something that interests you when it comes to games. And it's probably something that interests them. And people will know within the again, rule of thumb is first 15 seconds. You'll know if you like somebody or not when they're streaming.
Oh, I've gone to streams and I'm just like, oh, this person is not my cup of tea. Like,
You're like, God, bounce.
Sorry.
For me, one of the things that I look at when I'm looking for a random new streamer to follow is my criteria is, do they have a webcam? Do they speak English? Because I don't speak any other languages. And I will go through on Twitch and literally scroll to the bottom and just see people that have 10 or less viewers.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And it's so much fun to do because I found so many people, like there's this girl, her name's Crimson Wolf. Shout her out right now. But she does Overwatch. She does, I'm trying to think what she's doing something on Switch. Pokemon right now on Switch. I found her because of Overwatch, but I watch her because of her Pokemon stuff. And there's people that will go out of their way to search down further on Twitch to find the smaller streamers. I actually know people that will unfollow streamers once they hit a certain number, which blows my mind because I was like, why would you do that?
Sometimes they'll change. They'll get more arrogant and they'll worry about the numbers. And that's why you cannot worry about the numbers. It doesn't matter if you have 10 or 100 people in your streams because that has happened to me before where sometimes.
You panic.
Yeah, I panic. I have a panic attack because sometimes someone will raid me and I'm like, what do I do? I'll just keep going and be like, hi, I'm Clara. I'm going to go back to the chat and just be my normal self. It doesn't matter how many eyes are on you because as long as you're yourself, that's all that matters. And if they like you for you, they'll follow.
Stay.
But if you're a fake person, when they show up and they come to the next stream, they'll be like, who the hell did I follow?
And something with promotion and raids, if somebody raids you, their audience may not be the same as yours as well. You have to keep that in mind. So we had a YouTuber a few years ago that was relatively large that used to raid us all the time. Her audience is like 13 to 18-year-olds, which is not our audience. For level 2, our audience is 18 to 35 because I make the content I would want to watch. So why would I make content for somebody younger when I want to watch this stuff?
Also make the content you want to watch.
That's because I wouldn't be able to make content for that group because I don't know what that group thinks anymore. Like, what is yeet? What the hell does this mean? What are these things you guys are saying? I'm an old man. I'm sorry.
What is the T? I don't understand.
The only reason I know what yeet is because it was on a NASCAR the other day.
Oh
and I was like,
gosh,
God.
Keegan.
Yeah, I'm old. So, but that's something to keep in mind is when you are getting raided or you're thinking about people to raid. And I highly recommend you raid somebody because they will return the favor.
They will.
They will surprise you.
I've raided a ton of people and their community will like follow me back. I'm like, you didn't need to do that. I just like your channel.
Don't be concerned if you're raiding with 2 people, 5 people, 100 people. It does not matter.
They will always appreciate it.
Yes.
No matter. I've been raided by 2 people. I've been raided by 90 people. And sometimes the 2 people are the nicest people ever. And the 90 will be like,
they'll say things.
And I'm like,
and then you're like, well, and then they bounce.
Yeah.
Also, if you get rated by somebody, rule of thumb is 10%. 10% of those people will actually stay with you for at least one more stream. And then after that, it's up to you to keep them. And
My
that's
community is
where-
like really tight knit, so if we raid someone, it's someone that like Moo will probably recommend, and it's a smaller streamer, and I'm like, please let it be a small streamer. Like if it has over 100 views, that's awesome, good for them. But I want to raid a person who has like 10 views.
we did Francesca the other day. So Francesca is a game developer who is actually at thank you.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
What?
Francesca is a game developer at NYU who's working on a bunch of different things. She's getting her master's in game design, which I think is incredible that exists, and B, that she's doing it. But we rated her, and after you rated her, she actually sent me a text of, because she knew I did it. She's like, was this your doing? I was like,
I
yeah.
normally always tell the person like, this person made me raid you. Congratulate them.
But-
I did nothing. And
But
like,
she sent the text afterwards of like, hey, I appreciate that, because again, she's just doing art design. You're an IRL.
I talk.
You talk.
That's it.
You really had nothing
talk,
in
I
common
know.
with her, but some of the things that you
But like
do because you're a
Rue
gamer.
is an artist. I have a friend named Rhubarb, and she's an artist, and I'll always try to raid other art channels because I'm like, oh, I know that a lot of people in my community are artists, and I know that they like watching people draw and stuff like that. I suck at it, but I love
Me too.
watching it.
So keep in mind that when you do raid or when you're raided by somebody, not everybody's going to like them. But Twitch has made it a lot easier to raid people. All you have to do in the dashboard is type in. You have to do /raid and then get the name spelled right. Now you just
I've
have
messed up a lot.
Now you just get the name spelled right and do it from there, and it's really easy. You can also host people. Auto-hosting people is nice.
I do that to Grabigli.
Yeah, you do it to. I do it to a
I do it to
bunch
you
of
guys,
people.
too.
I do it to Overwatch League because I love them. But we have 5 minutes left. Anybody have any other questions
Any
before
questions
we
in the chat?
move on?
Any questions in
No?
the chat? It's okay if you don't. I'm a shy bean too. It's all
I'm
right.
not. But I want to thank you guys for coming out to our
Yes.
panel. Again, my name is Keegan. I'm from Level 2 Gamers. If you look us up at Level 2 Gamers STL on Twitter, Level 2 Gamers STL on Instagram. And if you want to follow, if you're a D&D fan, savedbytheroll.com is the name of our D&D campaign. It's a wonderful time I do with all my friends from around the world. One of the dudes is a big giant man in dreads who looks scary as all get out.
terrifying,
But
but
he's
he's
the
a
nicest dude
sweetheart.
in the world. Where can they find you?
You can find. I was getting my business cards out, Keegan. You gotta
Hurry
keep
up.
talking for
You
like
got-
2 more minutes.
You got like 3 minutes to do it.
My business
Yeah,
cards.
3 minutes to do it.
I have business
So-
cards. I was talking about that earlier. Wowie kazowie.
But my name is Claradactyl. You can find me on Twitch at Claradactyl. You can find me on Twitter at Clara_Dactyl_. Because Claradactyl was taken. We were talking about that at the beginning, okay? Didn't want to
Claradactyl
put a
TV.
1 at the end of it. Wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I scream a lot. I talk. I'm going to start doing more games. I have a lot coming up because I'm getting out of my comfort zone more. And that's kind of the epitome of this year, is getting out of my comfort zone. So,
Cool.
yeah.
If you guys have any questions that you didn't ask here and you want to ask in private, we'll be out front a little bit, but I will be back in this room for the panel next because I'm
Heck
super
yeah.
excited about Gravity Falls. So
Gravity Falls.
thank you guys so much for coming out. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with
applaud
us tonight.
them?
So we can. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your con.